but obviously, yeah, it was a pretty dark time that I kind of synthesized folk. So it was kind of like a last resort. I was pretty just mad at life and felt like I wasn't doing enough. I needed to take that more serious. I jumped off stage and my foot is still pretty from that. Yeah, so it is an interesting name. A lot of people think it's a certain word that we won't mention.
Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in to the new episode of Good Soup After Dark. I'm Marie.
And I'm Jay.
And today you gonna see the really interesting character who comes to us. And I was really excited because I find interesting people like our guest really deserve to be seen, hear, and observe, if I can say that, because I think it's observe. It's a good word to explain.
Yeah, we just like to be able to take the chance to use our platform to bring other people to the forefront. We're still a small channel, but we'd like to use whatever power and influence we have to just kind of put good people on, and I think our guest tonight exemplifies that. I think he also exemplifies the duality of most people in this space, where you might see us on camera or you might see us performing, and we're like completely different people than what we actually are. And it's not that we're different people so much as it is like we have these different personas that we take on.
The way we want to appear in front of the audience, of course, it's a little bit different than we are in real life.
And I think he does a good job of being both. But yeah, we hope you enjoy this episode, and we hope you learn from it as much as we did. We're learning to be better interviewers, I think. We're learning to ask like deeper questions, I guess, if you can say. I would say, like, Marie, about our podcast, Good Soup After Dark. I think we ride more on the tame side. Not that that's a bad thing. Like, our objective is to make a positive platform so people can be shown in a positive light to the people they want to reach and people we want to reach. But I think we're learning to ask those kind of deeper questions and kind of get more into the minds of people. Like, and sometimes that's like pulling out like not necessarily negative experiences, but like kind of like what they learned from like negative experiences. And I think that makes for better television.
Yeah, it's any journey that artists gone through. It's always important because it's made them who they are. And of course, we want to talk about complicated parts of the life, because without that, you can't be who you are. And we also want to talk with the, if I can say, you're laughing at me when I say that, younger generation who just started to doing something. Younger in a meaning of just beginners, or like something who young in this particular area and this particular topic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Who just start and just show them that you must be prepared for different situations. Like in a first performance, or going through this artistic journey. It's really important because, like I said, it's make you who you are. And it's not necessarily a bad thing to talk about, I believe.
And we hope you pull from this episode as much as we did when it comes to those regards. So, again, thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe, comment. We try to comment back. We're trying to grow and get more engagement, so every little bit helps. So thank you.
And I'm going to ask you to comment some comments. Not just we like every emoji and stuff, but if you just give us your opinion in like couple words, just let us know. Do you like it? Do you like the artist? What do you think about the artist? Do you hear his music or her music before? Or just share your story in the comments. It's like have the engagement. We want to know what you're interested in. We want to know what's this particular episode open up for you, or you have some doubts, or just share with us. Now, enjoy this episode of Good Soup
After Dark. Welcome to another episode of Good Soup After Dark. I'm your host, Jay Gonzalez. We have Morihrihart behind the cameras, the ones and twos. And tonight we have a very special guest in our studio. He's a New Jersey-based artist that performs a lot in Philadelphia and Delaware. And we actually met him down in Delaware at a couple events. And we're really glad to have Folk for his first podcast appearance ever. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. And before we get into anything, we just want to give you your camera right there just to introduce yourself and let people know where to find you.
Hello, y'all. I'm Folk. You can find me on IG at PHOKMC. And yeah, Folk on all streaming platforms for like Freakin' Nature or any of the songs. Just type in Folk, PHOK, and the song name, and I should pop right up.
Awesome. And we'll make sure that we get all the links in the description down below so you could just click them and find them right away. And just to get started, man, I want to start on your name. It's a pretty interesting name, and like people kind of get mixed up on like how to pronounce it. I know we're in the first few minutes of a YouTube video, so if we have to bleep it out, we'll bleep it out. But let's talk about your name, Folk, PHOK.
Yeah, so it is an interesting name. A lot of people think it's a certain word that we won't mention.
I'll bleep it out.
No, you're good. But yeah, I'd actually, I went through a couple rap names. I tried to start rap groups with like friend groups in college and even a little bit towards the end of high school. And, you know, went through a bunch of names, eventually landed on Folk. Really like it's kind of, you know, plays off of like FOLK and how like certain, especially Southern accents, you know, kind of say folk, like folk. So it was a play on that, and also just, you know, a lot of Greek philosophy and German philosophy kind of went into the origin of that name. You know, where that PH sound comes from is the Greek letter, and, you know, it's in philosophy twice. And the Romantics, especially like Herder and Hamann and Hegel, Novalis, those guys, they had this kind of idea of the poets as the people's spirit. The Volkgeist is what they called it. And so, you know, that is kind of where our word folk comes from. So I just kind of combined those all into like this short little succinct thing that I just was like, hey, no one's using this. This is a pretty cool. It's easy to remember. It looks kind of cool. And it's great in rap because you can do a lot of things with it. You know, there's all types of wordplay you can do with it. So it's fun.
That's pretty interesting. I didn't think about the philosophy thing because it's in there twice. And like the whole Southern kind of accent thing. So I used to live in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah.
So it's, if you know, it's Norfolk.
Right.
But they say Norfolk. And then Suffolk is the same thing. I think they do more like a ICK sound, but it's kind of like the same idea.
Right.
So that's pretty interesting. But you're originally from Delaware?
Yep. I was born and raised in Middletown, Delaware. You know, moved up to Newark when I went to university. You know, went for philosophy. Obviously, that's part of the, you know, the inspired.
Where you got your interest from?
Yeah. So, and you know, I try and run that, you know, whole lineage into a lot of my rap lyrics and stuff, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can. Can you just give us an example of like how you use philosophy in your music?
Yeah. So I guess like that's difficult. Like philosophy is such a base of my whole worldview, and I feel like folk is kind of just an expression of that worldview, if that makes sense. Like, so like the whole idea of folk and what it's supposed to be is as like this poet as the people's champion, or the, you know, speaking the spirit of the culture to life, or, you know, through, you know, different interpretations of the word and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it's like so many of my lyrics. I'm trying to think of just like individual bars, but I mean, even the idea of a lot of songs like Freak of Nature, is just kind of subverting a lot of that aggression and, animosity and sometimes vileness that's there in some hip hop. And honestly, I love a lot of that stuff. But folk was just a way to, put a different masking on a lot of that.
So you mentioned Freak of Nature actually twice already. And we've actually seen you perform that song personally. Like, if people know already, we're videographers that do event coverage. And we've seen you live and covered you live a couple of times. Do you want to get into that song a little bit more?
Yes, that song was it was kind of the culmination of, I don't know, sometimes at least from my artistry, it feels like there's quantum leaps almost. I'm treading along and I'm seeing little progress, and then all of a sudden you just have this leap where you're like, oh my, I'm finally doing it. And I think Freak of Nature was really one of those songs for me where I really started to get into what I'd always kind of wanted to be doing with folk. And it's just everything kind of connected. The beat just was, absolutely gorgeous. And then, I just had this very impassioned, I don't know, very, super just in my feelings on a track, and being very vulnerable about feeling I'm a freak of nature. I just don't feel like I fit in. I'm always feel out of place. I always just screw things up, and just put that into a song and did the whole or crazy voice hikes and stuff, and people just loved it and were requesting it. So I was like, oh shit, this feels awesome. And that song I actually debuted at you guys were at one of Slim's events, and that song, the first time I ever performed it was at Slim's thing in Delaware. It was the first time I ever performed in Delaware. So it's just one of those things that just seems like such a everything came together kind of perfectly. It was weird.
And you talk about how you do those voice hikes, and we can get kind of into the physicality of your performance. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hard to keep track of you when you're performing that song.
I feel
it's a little bit of a workout. But can you talk about how the song translates to your physical performance of it?
I mean, that's the physicality of my performance just in general. I'd say I'm a kind of visceral, crazy just person in general, even though I'm very quiet. Most people wouldn't know that about me, but I guess just with the rap performance, it's okay, I just kind of got to go full throttle with that energy. But yeah, I do always feel bad for people trying to take photos or videos of me, because there's some songs where I'm just running the whole time, and there's other songs where I will just move a lot, and I'm very I notice my facial expressions are insane. So it's just, the performances, I don't know, I kind of just lose myself, but every bar that I write is dipped in the well of my soul, so I feel everything I'm saying. So, I feel that just makes me, perform it to the utmost.
I figured it out that during you talking, you separate yourself sometimes from a folk. You just separate, I work with him. You said, we have this phrase, we work with folk this way or that way. So it's a separate person that you have inside of you. Is not you. It's your alter ego, or how you call it, correct? Alter ego. Mm-hmm. How do you work with him? How he's in a interpersonal relationship?
He takes up a lot of space. And he keeps taking up more space. But yeah, I do tend to do that. I guess just because as I think we've discussed before, I primarily, I always thought of myself as a writer. I wrote a lot as a kid. And I still have, a couple books I've written. They're terrible. I need to edit them. But so I guess I just I kind of put folk as this thing that I'm doing, but it is me and it's not me. I don't know where the boundary is, but it is kind of a strange thing to be when am I folk? When am I, just me?
Is that something that's hard to balance? Not to make you sound like you have a split personality or something, but kind of in an essence you do. Like I can even say for me, like I have like regular normal working Jay who's been in telecom forever. And then I have this Jay who does like the interviews and like shows up to different events and hangs out with a lot of artists. And like for me personally, I find it like one side's kind of taking over more and it's kind of, is it hard for you to keep that separation?
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. And yeah, because I'm, like I said, I'm pretty introverted. And like if I wasn't doing this folk enterprise, I would just be chilling at home with my cat most of the time, honestly. So, the fact that I'm just out and about and, it's good to just be talking to people and making friends and networking and marketing yourself. Yeah, all of that is very foreign to me. So it's something that is, I'm kind of working my way through, but it's definitely get some bumps and bruises for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely something trying to like balance those two things. And it's like for me, like I really want to be the one thing, but I have to figure out how to be the other thing so that I can, feed my cats. But
I have a question. We talk about where does the name come from, but how folk was born. What is how you create him? Like we figured it out the name, what does it mean, and how is like, sorry, this trains, and how is work with the philosophy and what it means, how it goes, but how you create him, where he's come from.
That's honestly, it's a very good question because, yeah, there is definitely like more of a genesis story there. I had a long-term relationship for like 7 years. It was pretty serious. We lived together the whole time and all that. And right at the start of COVID, she broke up with me, and that kind of set a lot of things in motion. And folk being the main one, I just kind of decided that she was right to leave me, and a lot of it was because I was pretty just mad at life and felt like I wasn't doing enough. And one of the things that I knew I needed to take more serious was my art, and like if I actually wanted to like be able to look at myself in the mirror and actually like think that I'm doing what I was supposed to do, I needed to take that more serious. So I'd say in like during that time is really when I just went like, okay, I'm gonna, no matter what people think, no matter how silly it is to be, almost 30 trying to do this, thing, I'm going to do it and I'm going to put everything into it. And I just kind of, kept on the grindstone from, that early 2020 through that whole COVID experience and into, now here we are in 2025. And yeah, honestly, it was needed and it's turned out great. So I'm happy and, post hoc about how it went, but obviously yeah, it was a pretty dark time that I kind of synthesized folk, so it was kind of like a last resort in a certain way.
it's interesting like how like quite a few people we interviewed up until this point, like it's not like you forget that it happened, like the whole pandemic, but like you don't really realize like how much it really started like shaping people into like what they are becoming, what they decide to do. Like we spoke with one person, we spoke with a couple of people who started businesses, like because they were just home and they needed something to do, or like a bad event happened because of it. And like art can come from a negative place. And I think this might be an interesting conversation to have, especially with you. Like some people feel like you need to suffer to make good art. I don't necessarily subscribe to that. I do feel like that, like a good concept or a good idea can come from suffering, but just kind of like it sounds to me that you try to take that suffering, use the word last resort, and whatever that means. I'm glad you're here today. But how do you feel about like negative experiences, like either helping like affect or shape your art? Is that something that you really try to lean into these days, or like what does negativity do for the arts? When it comes to folk?
That's a really interesting question. It's something I think about a lot. Because like even before that, I was trying to do the writing and stuff, and I was working diligently on the books and stuff. So Yeah, it's difficult to tease out that relationship of like, do you need that suffering? I do think it breeds a certain like psychological dynamism or something. You know what I mean? When you have that much trauma and stuff to experience, it kind of weathers you in a certain sense, and maybe in that experience is where a lot of art comes from. Just being in the world and wanting to express the different feelings or whatever it makes. But I agree with you. I think people too much like lionize that idea that you got to be a suffering artist. You got to be always on the edge of like killing yourself or something to be an artist. And it's like, okay, maybe that is true for some great artists, but even if that's true, we shouldn't make people think that that's
Right.
unless you're this, unless you're suicidal, you're not going to be a great artist. Like, I don't know if it's that cut and dry either.
I have a comment about it. As in being an artist, I think artists sometimes, it's not like you must be suffering. I thought about this a lot sometimes, and sometimes it can bring you to the bad thoughts. But sometimes I have the idea that what if artists actually consume, eat the bad, and put digest the bad feelings and create something beautiful. It's like, I don't know if you have we have the word. There's like the wolves is like senators of the woods. So they eat the dead and I forget the word, ill dead animals. So they take them out from the woods and left only good who you can't catch. So it's kind of like artists, they take the bad feelings and they digest it and create something good. Why I think that way? Because I've personally, when I draw, I consume the true crime videos, and it makes me so good. And the best work I ever do, I do when I'm angry or upset. Because I take this, it's somewhere in a head, is like rework that and create something great. It's not that artists must suffering. They can, if they not suffering in their real life, they go somewhere where someone feel bad. They take these feelings and create something good. I think this kind of the work they do. So, I don't know what I say digest, but it feels like it's like you eat it and you create something good, not shitty, but So it's like kind of the way artists survive, because not every time you have personal drama, but it doesn't mean you stop to create, right? So you just find the way to take some interesting information, and it can be a sad information. It can be, I don't know, talking to a friend and your friend share with you something like really important to this person, and you not take it and just go and tell someone. No, you take it, you digest it, and you create something good. So sometimes I also think like suffering, you must be like almost dead, laying down on the floor in a tears, do the tears, snow angel. But yeah, and from here I have a question. So you said you write the books. You said you was interested in that, and then you start to do the poetry. Like you write it down something. It was a books. It's like nonfiction, fiction. Share with this like a little bit what you was interested in, and how do you start poetry and songs? Like it's kind of like part of the song is like a lyric. How do you come here like in this type of art?
Yeah, I guess I just noticed when I was younger that hip hop was the most lyrical form of music, and I realized that there was a lot of space, way more space than like in a typical rock song. Like you look at rock lyrics, like even the longest rock song is like barely a page, if that. And then you just see the space that they get in hip hop, and you're like, oh wow, like if you compressed a lot of ideas and could say things like, really interestingly or intelligently or like wittily, there's a lot of space for that, and I started to gravitate towards a lot of those artists, just naturally because of my being a writer and like being into that, and then it just I don't know exactly what made me. I remember just writing like terrible like little puns and stuff that were bars or whatever with my friends and stuff like that, but I guess I just knew that there was that potential in me because I had like this kind of, poetic mind. I would always like come up with like certain phrases or aphorisms or stuff like that. And I just started to distill it into like, I have books now looking back that when I was 18 of like, these terrible raps that I was writing, and I don't know how seriously I took it, but I guess, it was just rap was such a part of the culture. That I just kind of naturally knew that form was there, and then just kind of shunned it for a while or looked down upon it because you're going through different things as oh, that's popular or whatever, that kind of phase through high school and stuff like that. But then it's just something I kept coming back to and I kept thinking about, and I would just find myself riding along the beats, in my car and just thinking of stuff in my head. And I'm like, I should really start to take this more serious. So I guess it was kind of more organic. It just kind of kept developing.
And what is that writing process like? Like, do you actually take pen and paper? Is it like on the cell phone? Like, we spoke to one artist, he said, I just stop writing, I turn on a beat and I record it, and then I go off of like what I say. So what is your writing process like?
Kind of an amalgamation. I don't do much pen and paper anymore, though I've been trying to like get back into that just to see if, because it does help, like they say like writing actually helps like your memory and stuff. So like actually write, you're supposed to actually like hand take notes and stuff. It helps, fire the nerve centers, I guess. But mainly I'd say it's just on the phone. But I have been doing a lot more of like, just like when I'll turn on a beat and just like record, just even like when I'm driving or whatever, just have like my phone recording and just like have a beat playing and then just freestyle over it and then just be like, oh, I like that piece, and then kind of work off that. So I honestly have started doing more of that. But yeah, and a lot of editing. I edit the crap out of my lyrics. Yeah, lots of going through and just making sure everything ties together neatly.
And what are some of those influences for like your music making? I mean, everyone has influences, like, and you don't necessarily need to like try to copy them, but I mean, an influence is an influence. Like, can you like name some of your influences that you have?
Yeah, so there's a huge list. I'm a bit of a music fiend. So like as a kid, I was really into a lot of like weird music. Like it's a bit embarrassing, but I was one of those ICP kids when I was in middle school and stuff. My brother, went through a Juggalo phase, so I had to emulate that, because it was super cool with Big Brothers doing it. Then Eminem was big when I was coming up, so I memorized the crap out of a lot of those songs way too early. As I got older and started to like actually develop more of like my own taste, I started to get into all kinds of stuff, but like Mars Volta, Modest Mouse. I'm a huge like Captain Beefheart fan, Frank Zappa, Kool Keith, MF Doom, AC Alone, Tribe Called Quest, I don't know, Sun Ra, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I listen to everything, but I definitely like a lot of the more avant-garde kind of artists, people who push the boundaries of kind of what you can do with music.
Gotcha. So you read 3,000 books by the age of, oh no, that's not you, but you said you do listen to, try to listen to 20 albums a week.
Yeah, I try to, and I'm usually pretty good at it. I usually get them in, but yeah, I mean, like I try to study music pretty seriously. I feel like there's just been so much awesome music that it's kind of just, and now with the internet age, we have like access to like the whole catalog of music in human history. It's just insane. So, you can just like listen to anything from like Bach to, you can be listening to, Kid Cudi to whatever, it's all at your fingertips. So I just try and stay up to date on, a lot of, regular groups that I just, love and I'm super fanned about. But I also try to like dig into the past, and push myself to listen to things I normally wouldn't, like country, metal, kind of all, jazz, ambient, like all kinds of stuff.
Now, how important is that to you for your process? Like, I know we chatted a little bit before we started rolling, and like for me personally, like getting into like this interview / podcast space that we've been doing, like I think some people would have like the natural assumption is that like that's all you consume, like, but like I find it kind of hard to like try to keep up with making my own stuff versus like trying to like consistently consume like as a rapper, as an artist in that regard. Like, how important is it for you to try to keep up that up to 20 albums a week?
I'd say that's like it's like a hopeful,
Right.
mark. I mean, I definitely would say I do usually hit it or come pretty close. But definitely, like if I have studio time and in a week, and like this week and last week I've been slammed at work. I worked like 50 some hours last week. I'm already at 40, or I'm already at had 4 hours overtime today. So when with job going crazy, and then coming home and trying to still write and doing all that, and then just regular clean up after the cat and do dishes, eat, bathe, that kind of regular stuff. It gets pretty challenging to keep up with all the things that I try to do. But I do also think of it as like, hey, if I want to take this serious as something that I'm doing, I'm trying to make my life and career in this, I do need to put down, not play the video game and just put in or at least play the video game but pay attention to the album. That's all I do.
I was thinking about playing my PlayStation after this, but yeah, no. That's, like I said, it's pretty interesting because, like I said, it's just kind of hard to like, especially when you're making your own stuff too.
It's actually really, really interesting to talk with a person who create that kind of. I think it's not only music, rap, or something. It's just a journey, because when we first time see you performing, first thing is, what's going on here? Then you hear the music, you feel the energy, and you just like, oh, that's the cool thing. You know what I mean? Like you always like when you first see, you just like, I'm not sure, and then you figure it out because. Anything can be good or bad, right? Mm-hmm. If like rap can be good, bad, and you're performing, it's something that obviously good. You have a good time, you have a good energy, and all what's going on the stage, first second makes you feel like weird, and then boom, oh, that's cool. And I don't know why. I personally, when we record you, I can take the smile from my face because I'm just holding the camera and just smiling because it's so much energy. Do you feel that energy from the crowd? Because any performing artist, they come out, and I think it's kind of like people who jumping with a parachute. You have this adrenaline and this energy. Do you have the energy from the people? They come to you. They say like, "Oh, that was something." Do you have some feedback from people who listen to your music?
Yeah, I usually get told like, "Oh my God, your energy is crazy!" Like, and then I'll hear other performers like sometimes they'll be taking videos, and there's this one where the performer's just like, "Yeah, I can't be like him. I think I'd have a heart attack." And so apparently, yeah, that's just I don't know. It just comes out of me naturally, but. Definitely the reception of the crowds has just been like so warm, and it's just made me feel like, okay, I'm locked in. Like, I'll usually have like someone come up to me and just have this huge smile on their face and just like want to talk to me. And it's so cool just to, I don't know them at all. I just perform for them, and to see their just jubilation is their reaction. It makes me feel like, okay, yeah, this is what I was made to do, Yeah, and one time, I don't know. I'm a sensitive guy, so this really got to me. I think it was I don't know if you guys have ever been to one of Anthem's events, but he does some in Wilmington. at the Grand Opera House, and I remember there was this family there, and they had this little girl, and the father and the mother were talking to me, saying that they had really enjoyed my performance and stuff. And the little girl was like, she was like maybe 2, so super little. She was like, hiding behind the dad's legs and stuff, as they're wont to do. And then she just came up real quick and just hugged my leg, and then just like looked up at me and smiled all big, and then just like ran back to her dad. And I was just like, oh my God, I could die right now, like that is just like the fact that like this kid can't even really, talk much yet, but it's just like has this emotion that they don't know how to express, that they just did it in the most genuine way. I was like, wow, it was just such a beautiful moment to be a part of. It was really cool.
That's sweet. I'm gonna cry.
Now let's bring it back down to earth. No, I'm just kidding. So like this Saturday, we're going to be at Pancakes and Booze, this art show in Philly. And like part of what we're doing is we're going to do like kind of like a live podcast. And I want to have like some set questions in place so I could have like the questions ready to go. So I'm not like trying to think of what to get people to say. And I think like any other normal human being, we face like a lot of failures. I think me personally, I've been dealing with some certain things. But I'm trying to like take that negative energy, right? Like you said, like digest it and try to make something out of it. So one of the questions I want to ask, I kind of want to try on you. Let's see if it works out. And it's just like real basic. It's nothing too crazy, but like I want to, and I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this, but like people deal with failures in life. Like you don't have to get into so much detail about it, but can you talk about a failure that you've gone through in life and how you took that and made something positive out of it, either by solving the problem or getting through it?
So, I mean, just to tie it back into me discussing, the failure of that relationship. Yeah, I mean, that was, pretty earth-shattering. And, it's especially earth-shattering when, like, you think that you're a certain way. And then you kind of realize, like, oh, shit, you see it through someone else's lens. And you're like, oh, wow, I've been that. So that was pretty, difficult to deal with and also very enlightening. But
you don't have to get into specifics, but I'm just trying to like kind of decipher what you're saying. It sounds like that you may have been acting a certain way that you weren't totally aware of until someone that you really cared for and really at some point probably held you at a high regard finally said like, hey, listen, this is what you're doing and this isn't right and I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
So did that kind of like sort of open your eyes to what you were doing? Like, so you don't have to get into specifics.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, I was not holding much space for the other person. I was very like, kind of domineering about, way too much. And I kind of realized like I didn't even know really that I was doing it. And, of course, obviously, before someone breaks up with you with that long, they had, she had tried to, make it known that I was doing that. And I just, kind of bulled through. But yeah, I mean, I think I just kind of, with that realization, it was kind of a bitter pill to swallow. But, I realized like, okay, I have not been as like good of a person, a good of a friend, a good of a family member, a good of, anything to a lot of people. And I needed to, stop being so self-centered and to really do the work to be like, okay, just because you don't want to do something or, whatever it is, just start to like prioritize, that, it's not always about you and your wants, that people make a lot of space for you to do what you're doing and that you need to, kind of hold that space sacred for them. And, it's not an easy thing to do. I went to, a year of therapy and, really just, tried to, write some friendships that I had messed up and, really tried to hold myself account for the ways that it hadn't, just affected that it affected, a whole litany of relationships.
That makes a lot of sense. Like I wish I had like something more to that, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks and it's tough to go through, but honestly, sometimes that's just how it is. You need those hard lessons to really like, I have a pretty thick skull up here, and sometimes lessons don't get through so easily, and yeah, you gotta, take one on the chin.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate chip.
That's lining up a little bit. Thank you for partaking in that. Marie?
Yeah, I mean, we're not open the Pandora box. Not a Pandora box. We're talking about the art style that you express yourself. When and how the first your performance was, and how do you feel? How do you relive that? How do you separate yourself from folk? How it was?
The first one was, it was interesting. I had been, making music for a couple of years at that point. I don't even remember how I found it. It was some weird like little competition thing in Philly. Yeah. But I was like, okay, I'll go out and see what's up. I had never performed before. But I'd been going into the studio and recording and stuff. So and I'd, been to open mics before, but I never had done anything. So I was like, all right. It was quite a while ago too. So honestly, it's stuff I haven't performed in years at this point. But it was cool. It actually went better than I expected. I always kind of knew that I had a very strange style, and that I was aware of that, and I was aware that that kind of abstract and avant-garde type of rap is not really everyone's cup of tea, especially with the crazy voices that a lot of people find annoying or whatever. But the reception even after that performance, when I was much greener than I am now, was pretty positive. So I think after that I was like, okay, I was living in Delaware during that time, so I had come all the way up to Philly, and I just didn't know any spots in Delaware to really be performing. So honestly, it was something that was, I think, in early to mid 2022, I want to say. So I kind of just looked for more spots to perform, but I didn't really know of much in Delaware. So I just kind of kept it on the back burner and was just, recording and writing a lot of music at that time. And wasn't until I, kind of got into 2023 that I really, kind of gotten involved with the local scene in Delaware.
How do you deal with I think everyone have this kind of stress before going on a stage. How do you deal with this, and how do you feel on a stage?
That's a good question. Yeah, beforehand, I like to just get myself like a little calm. Like I usually, like whenever I'm going to the event, because even I don't know, just going even to the event is like is like that phase is like where I have to, because I know once I'm in the event, it's kind of like, okay, now I'm here, and
no way back.
Yeah, there's no way back. Everyone's seen that you're here. And like, you can't control how loud the music is or any of that. So it's like, I kind of have like these, I wouldn't say rituals, but, just, kind of calm myself down, listen to some, some nice music, whatever, of my 20 albums that I'm hopefully listening to that week is really like, hitting that, whatever singles I'm loving. And I just try and, just set myself in like a really happy mood, kind of decompress if it's a day after work or whatever. And then I definitely, it's weird, the nervousness seems to come in like spells. Like I won't be nervous and I'll be feeling good and just talking to everybody, and I'll be like, oh shit, I wonder when I'm performing, and it's like, it's just those cycles of like, oh shit, when's it coming? But then when I get on stage, it's weird. I don't even really know what happens. Like it sounds weird to say, but like I just kind of lose myself. Like I really don't take. I know what I've memorized the lyrics, and I know that I'm gonna, and I know that I'm supposed to be saying them, but I don't know. I should be more like choreographed. That's something I'm trying to get a little more to like, have certain moves and stuff that I know I want to do. But there's also just something about just like being so in the moment that I'm just doing whatever the moment calls for. Like at the Slim event you guys were at, I jumped off stage, and my foot is still pretty fucked up from that. So not really always the smartest.
Being almost 30 will do that to you.
Yeah.
I rolled my ankle the other day just going downstairs, man. I'm 33. So
I mean, I'm 32, so yeah.
oh, you said almost 30.
Oh, when I started.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're old, man.
Yeah. I can't be jumping off stages.
I think you're my
Not a good
oldest.
idea.
I think you're my oldest podcast guest. I'm kidding. Probably the oldest rapper.
I'm getting up there for real. But luckily, I look young. Hopefully.
Yeah, if you say just you're gonna be 30, everyone believe you. Trust me, I believe. Why I asked that because I share a little bit. We cut it probably, but I like that idea that you separate your artistic you from you in real life. I have a little bit of experience to do like school plays and stuff, like theater and stuff, and it's always so like, oh my god, before going to the stage. And then you go on a stage and you do the first step, and it's like all this tremor, all this scaredness goes away, because after you go outside of the curtains, you became a character. And the character, he don't care how many people there in the crowd. Is like 1 million people or is like 3, and they drunk, lay down. You know, it's still people, and they are there. And for a character, it's more important to show whatever it's like must to say. If it's script in your I forget the word. You show the song, something that your character want to share with a crowd. And I like that you're trying to calm yourself down, but you, like you said, is like, oh, now I need to go, and start to like being. And I believe when you jump from the stage, I don't know why, but it feels like you start to feel pain after when a song was done, and you just stand there. And I was like, oh, it was a bad idea. You know what I mean? So yeah, I like that. I feel like from the first time when we see you, I think it was in Proving Grounds the first time. It feels like, oh, this person, like my personal opinion, this person have something really special that deserve to be seen or deserve to be here, because I personally, it's not my, like, it sounds bad, but the rap is not something that I consume, that I like to listen. I'm more a rock person or like indie rock person. But you hear something, and if it's good, it's stuck with you. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, this something that I actually can hear in like Apple, like A-list music. So it's like something that must be on top. It's something that I never hear before. And I don't know, you call the artist, I'm not listening to that artist that you like say like you listen to. If they do something like you do, well, it's something that I never heard. And you the first person who open up this type of style of hip hop for me personally. So I'm just like, oh, that's really interesting. And you really open and sweet person. You know what I mean? It's like your character on the stage, this crazy man wearing this jackets, do the movements and stuff. And person who sit here, Cody, he's sitting here, and he's a sweetheart. And he's talking about the child who showed the love of the energy like received. It's like it's two different people, but somehow all together it's create you. And I think it's amazing. And I will ask you to check the questions, because I'm just happy. I'm just feel really good to talk with someone who just, I feel in a kind of like artistic wave with me, with us. It's so cool.
Wow. I mean, that's all so amazing. I really appreciate a lot of, thank you. Like, that means a lot to me, what you said. That's what this whole thing is about, honestly. So really, from the bottom of my heart, that means a lot. Thank you.
Well, before we close, I do want to ask, like, what's next? What's next for Folk?
So a lot. I'm notoriously bad at releasing music. I'm trying. It's one of my things I'm trying to get better. Yeah, I probably have like, I don't know. I definitely have over 100 unreleased songs I've recorded since 2023. So I need to get on releasing a lot. I was actually trying to schedule some this weekend, but I ended up working Saturday. And then my weekend was just shot. So I have my first full length project coming out. Trying to release it sometime mid to late summer. It's Hemlock Slang is the title. And so, yeah, that'll be a pretty big project with, I think it's got like 22, but it'll be somewhere between 20 and like 24 tracks on it.
That's pretty hefty.
Yeah, I mean, I do have like, you guys have seen Not a Jar and Here to Stay. They're pretty short songs. A lot of my songs
Gotcha.
tend to be like, yeah, Here to Stay is like, it's funny, it's kind of ironic. It's called Here to Stay and it's 54 seconds, I think. I also have like, I think I have a 36-second song.
Okay.
So I have, yeah, I like doing really short songs sometimes.
Is there a particular reason for that?
There was just this one beat maker I found, and he just did all these like amazing beats. They're absolutely phenomenal, but like very rare that they would be over like a minute 30. And I was just like, huh. And it does seem to be becoming more of a trend in certain like aspects of the underground. Earl Sweatshirt, Tierra Whack. Billy Woods, the kind of Griselda guys, a lot of them more like, like underground boom bap-ish kind of rap tends to be veering in that direction. Part of me thinks it has something to do with, I think you only need 30 seconds for a stream to count. Mm-hmm. So, like, in that sense, it also, monetarily makes sense if you listen to one song that's 3 minutes, or you listen to, 3 or 4 of my songs that are,
within that time.
Yeah, it's like, okay, you actually, it's still, 3/10 of a penny or whatever bull crap they actually pay you. But, it's more that you're getting for the same listening time. So.
Now, do you find that challenging to do it within that time frame, or do you find it just right for you and your style?
I like it. I think you can get a lot out. It's amazing how much you can say. Like sometimes I'll be writing to these tracks and I'll be like, it's not that long. It's got to be. This verse looks long, and then I'm like, I guess I'm just rapping it really fast. I don't know. I still need more bars. It was definitely a unique challenge, but I like also putting. Sometimes I like in my songwriting throwing roadblocks in there as a way to like. I don't know, incite creativity or something. You know what I mean? It's like if a beaver has this amazing dam and you just throw something in there that he can't get out real easy, he's going to try and find some, little way to move around it or to build it into the dam or whatever, And I found out that a lot of the beat makers that I go towards even do that within their beats where they're not very traditionally structured. Like it's not, hook, into your verse, into a bridge, into a, they'll have like all these weird, things. It's not, an even like 16 bars you could get your verse or whatever. So I just kind of got accustomed to just being very loose with the songwriting and just kind of adapting myself to whatever, the particular beat maker, had put on the table and just trying to make the best I could out of that.
I'm curious. I remember we asked internet some time ago, what's the difference between album and a mixtape? So it's like, for some reason, I thought the album is like when each song between it like connected. It was like tell the story during the album. So you need to listen this from first to like 12 or 20. And a mixtape is just like, oh, I write this like 10 years ago and that, and I put all together. So it's like mix of the songs.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm not 100% sure. I think it has to do with like, I know a lot of mixtapes, like they weren't like sold releases, so it wasn't like you didn't have to clear the samples and a lot of stuff like that. And I think that's why like in hip hop they were kind of popular because I don't know, like if you guys were around the Dat Piff era where you're like downloading all the mixtapes off there and stuff, and it's they would go on each other's beats or whatever beat was popular because you didn't have to clear that because you're not making any money off of it. Technically, it's more like a fan service thing. I have thought about like trying to do like a mixtape with like some iconic beats or something. I always thought that would be kind of cool. But yeah, these are like beats I'm trying to get. That's also one of the reasons it's taking me a while. I'm trying to get like the exclusive licenses to all the beats and stuff. So they're all just all for like these are the beats for Hemlock Slang. So.
What are the usual artists? Like you work with some artists who do beats for you. Like how is like we're talking about beats, like, oh, there's beat maker, there's like artist, and how is actually work? Is like some kind of beat firm that you is like, I take this one and this one, or like how it looks like.
Yeah, so there's originally I would say I started on kind of like BeatStars, or I mean back in the day, with my friends, just looking at whatever YouTube videos we could, YouTube beats we could find to freestyle over or whatever, or a little cipher in the garage or whatever. But yeah, I just kind of got on BeatStars and looked, for producers that I liked or styles that I liked. I would try and find beat makers who worked in those styles, and that was something that has kind of evolved as I've gotten more and more in depth with folk. Because at first it was just buying these beats off random guys off YouTube, but as I've gotten more and more songs done and stuff, I've started to develop relationships actually with some of these guys, which is cool. I know people. There's one beat maker I work with a lot who lives out in Russia. There's another guy who lives down in Brazil. There's another guy who lives in Mexico. So it's cool. They'll release something and they'll send it my way, and see what I think of it, and kind of get a feel for what each other's going for, and.
So music connected people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, all through the magic of the internet.
I'm sorry, I just thought of a farm, like just a whole beet farm.
That would be awesome. I would love that. I would definitely be spending way too much time there.
Chickens, just like every day, 20 pack.
Well, I was literally thinking of fielded beets.
The beets?
Like the vegetable.
So, on a stage, you have specific appearance. And last time when we see you, you was wearing regular clothes, and then you appear on a stage and is like totally different person. Even like not only alter ego, but also the clothing. Can you share what's the thing? Because you have really vibrant jackets, or how do you call it correctly? Blazers. Yeah. Very vibrant, bright, and it's something that it's always complicated to pronounce for me. Associate with you. So where does it come from?
Honestly, it was pre-folk, and when I was doing theorizing about folk planting the seeds, I guess, as it were. I always liked blazers. I don't know why. I always thought they were like cool, and I like suits and ties. I always thought ties were like suits. I still collect a bunch of ties. One of the early iterations of folk, actually, I was wearing like a full-on suit type thing, but I kind of was like, okay, I think that's a bit too much. So yeah, it went through some iterations before I kind of got to where I have it now. But I've always been into fashion. I always liked clothes, and especially like bright colors. And like I was a kid, I had a orange and yellow cat, and I named him Rainbow just because rainbow was my favorite color, even though that also was in the color. But you couldn't tell me that. I had like this, rainbow blankie that I would carry with me everywhere. I don't know. I just loved colors. I loved, vibrancy. I was always into like aesthetic things. I was just kind of always obsessed with that stuff. So it was just kind of a natural extension of that. And I didn't really understand this. I guess I just kind of knew it intuitively that it made sense. But I always kind of thought thinking about it, it does seem like almost I take a blazer, which is like something that's traditional, and then I mix it with like, the hoodie sometimes, or like different hip hop apparel, or, like the, casual tee or whatever, and the jeans. And then So it was, I kind of see it as like almost, yeah, a visual representation of what I'm trying to do with the music, is that I'm, taking hip hop and, kind of making it my own by infusing it with these classical or literature and philosophical references and stuff.
So it's like rap in the suit.
Yeah, yeah, suited up rap.
How is
Dress for the job you want.
Intellectual rap.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, folk, thank you for sitting down here with us and chatting. But before we close things off, I just want to give you the camera one more time just to let people know who you are and where to find you.
Hey, thank you all for listening. Thank you guys again for having me, inviting me into your beautiful space, and allowing me to speak. My name's PHOK, Folk, PHOKMC on IG, and on all streaming platforms, you just look up Folk and Freak of Nature, Here to Stay, Optimist Chant, whichever song touches your heart. And thank you guys for your time and attention.
Well, thank you for coming, man. We appreciate it. And on that note, picture time. Word.